Hi, this is Martin with My IELTS Tutor. I want to thank you for joining me today. Our last lesson, we talked about the question types for Section 1. I gave you some tips and strategies. Today we're going to put those into practice, so let's begin. Now, if you remember, there are 4 different types of questions that you will get in Section 1. Now, you could get other question types, but the 4 I'm going to mention now, to recap, will be the ones you most commonly encounter for Section 1. These include form completion, multiple choice, table completion, and sentence completion. So let's take a closer look at those. Now, before we begin, there's some key points for answering all these questions. Now, first, we want to read all the questions before listening. You have 1 minute to do that before the audio starts, and I recommend that you do that. You want to mark keywords in the questions and options. Those are your clues. Then you want to consider synonyms or paraphrases for the keywords because you will hear them differently. They won't be expressed the same way in the questions as they are in the audio. So keep that in mind. Next, the questions follow the sequence of the audio, and this is really important because you can try to predict the answers in this regard. So try to predict the answers or try to predict when you will hear them. Then you want to write your answers in pencil. Don't use pen. You can easily mark up your question paper, and it can be confusing. With the pencil, you can easily erase your mistakes. Don't worry about spelling as you listen and write down the answers, but spelling must be correct on the answer sheet. Don't leave any question unanswered. You do have a chance of getting an answer correct, especially with multiple choice questions. And don't second guess an answer. If you second guess an answer, what happens is you put down an answer, and then you start doubting it. Chances are that first option answer that you put down is the correct one. I've had too many students do this, and they've all reported that the first answer is the correct answer. So don't second guess yourself. And then be focused and pay attention. You'll hear me, and I keep saying this, but it's true. Be focused and pay attention. Now, let's take a look at form completion. Now, sometimes you'll see here strategy for form notes completion. Sometimes you'll see a form that looks like the instructions say complete the notes below, but it'll be actually a form. But you still want to follow the same strategy. Okay, in Section 1, a form, especially on computerized IELTS, could say complete the notes below. But again, follow the same strategy I'm outlining. So the strategy for this is read the directions regarding word count. Read the title if there's a title. Look at the gaps and try to predict the answers. Look at words surrounding the gaps and think of their paraphrases. Those are the key words. And then fill in the gaps as you listen and transfer the answers to your answer sheet, ensuring that the answers are spelled correctly. Now, sometimes the questions will appear as a form, like I said, but the directions say complete the notes. Treat this the same way as you would form completion. I know I just said that, but I wanted to make sure that you really understand that, because you could be confused. Now, for form completion, we have an example here. Complete the form below, write one word and or a number for each answer. We have holiday rental, owner's names, granary cottage with the number of questions attached to it. And so let's go through steps 1, 2, and 3. First, we want to read the question. So the questions here are the individual sentences available for week beginning blank May. That's question 1. Cost for the week. 2, pounds. So we know we need to listen for a value, a certain value, a number. Then for number 3, blank cottage. That kind of sounds like a name, so we might want to listen for that one. We probably want to listen for a name. So, and then for number 4, building was originally A. So here we're looking for what the building was used prior to what it is now. And then walk through the doors from the living room into. So we're talking about a particular place in the cottage. So now we want to mark the key words here. So first, for question 1, the key word is available. And so we can think of available as maybe being free. The cottage is free at a particular time. Cost, we can paraphrase that to price, fee, rate, that sort of thing. Originally, this could be expressed as first, or started as, or was used as. Doors could be portals or entrances. Living room could be, say, drawing room or den. So those are our key words. Now take the rest of the steps, and so we're going to listen for key words. Now I don't have an audio to show you, but I do have the script from the audio. These questions were taken from Cambridge IELTS 16 Practice Test 4. So now if we look at question 1, available for week beginning May. So we look at where Shirley says, I'll just check. I'm sorry, Tom, it's already booked for that week. It's free. We see free, available, the week beginning the 28th. So May. So that would be the answer would be 28th. So we would write 28th or 28. So, and it doesn't matter whether we spell it out or we use numbers. Now, if we look at question 2, cost of the week, we can see that Shirley says that's the beginning of the high season, so it be. Cost would be so it be. And then we have the amount, 550 pounds. So the answer is, of course, 550 pounds. Now, let's take a look at the rest of the questions. So, number 3 is blank cottage. If you remember, I said that we're thinking of and looking for a name here. That's most likely the case. So, we look at the line where Shirley says, well, we've just finished converting another building into a cottage, which we're calling Chervil Cottage. And so that would be the answer, Chervil Cottage. But take a note. Tom asks how to spell it, and you will be expected to spell out names. So pay attention to how names are spelled. That's really important because you need to get the correct spelling, especially for names. Now, let's look at question 4. Building was originally A. So Shirley says, of course, the building was built as a garage. So the correct answer would be garage. So originally is expressed as was built as. Okay? So, and so we can see it's a garage. Now, question 5 is kind of interesting because we have the answer before the key words. So Tom says the answer, does it have a garden? And Shirley says, yes. You get to it from the living room through the French doors. So here, and this can happen from time to time where you get the key answer before the key words. So really pay attention. The key words can come before the answer or they can come after the answer. And they could be mentioned by one person and the answer mentioned by another. So that's really an important point. Okay? Now let's move on. So, multiple choice questions. Multiple choice questions come in 2 types. We have single option multiple choice questions with 3 options, or we have list type multiple choice answers where we could have maybe 5 options, 6, 7, 8, even 9 options, and we would have to choose more than one option according to the directions. So these are what they look like. For listening, you're more likely to get 2 option multiple choice. Now with list questions, the list multiple choice questions, each answer is a question. So each option represents a question. So keep that in mind. Now, there are certain key considerations for multiple choice questions. First, look for a title for the questions. Titles give you an idea of the situation in the audio that involve the questions, and they help you understand the portion of the audio, questions, and options better. You want to read the options and the questions and the options. That's right. Questions and options, you want to make sure you read those. Mark the ones that are, you will often find 2 options that are very similar. One is a distractor though, and the distractor is designed to make you think that it's the correct answer. However, it's not. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to note the differences between the 2. Okay, and then you want to look for keywords in the question and options, and then come up with synonyms like we did for form completion for the keywords. And then keep in mind that all the options are likely to be mentioned in the audio, but only one is correct, or the specified number of options for list multiple choice questions are correct, and they could be in any order for list. So keep that in mind. Now, another thing that's important is the first answer you hear is not always, that's right, not always the correct answer. It could be the second or third. So not always the correct answer is first you hear. Then don't mark your answer immediately when you hear it. What I recommend you do is you put a tick mark next to the answer you think is correct, and then cross out incorrect answers as you listen. And don't be afraid to mark your paper in this way. It's your question paper, not the answer sheet. And you're going to transfer your answers to the answer sheet at the end of the test. Now, the strategy for multiple choice questions is first, look for a title, if any. Then you want to read the directions, look for keywords, consider synonyms or paraphrases for the keywords. For instance, offer teaching could be expressed as give lessons. Make sure you pay attention for the answer. Remember, it may not always be the first answer mentioned. And look out for negations which signal incorrect options. So a negation would be the option will be the opposite of what you hear in the audio. Tick off the correct answers, cross out the incorrect answers, and then transfer your answers to the answer sheet at the end of the test. Now, we have here three MCQ questions, so let's do the steps here. Steps 1, 2, and 3. So the family will start with the first one. The title, first of all, we want to read free activities in the Burnham area. Question 1, the family welcome event in the art gallery begins at. So the first key word here is begins. So we want to either circle or underline that. Then number 2, the film that is now shown in the family welcome event is about. So film can be a key word, and about can be a key word. And number 3, when do most of the free concerts take place? So take place, and most is definitely a key word here. Okay, so if we look at the keywords, We want to consider synonyms, so begins might be starts or opens, starting time. Film could be movie or documentary, and then most could be majority. So let's take a look and answer these questions. So we'll look at the first one right now. The family welcome event in the gallery begins at, and so we listen. And we see that Martin mentions it. The gallery opens at 10 and the family welcome event runs. So begins now is expressed as runs from 10:30 to 2. So the correct answer is 10:30 because runs is the what we want to indicates the answer. So that's how the keyword begins is expressed. Now, the other questions, question 2, the film is now shown in the family welcome event is about. So we look here at the script. Looks like Martin says, and several times during the day they're going to show a short film. So film, short film that the gallery has produced. It demonstrates about, matches the keyword about, demonstrates how ceramics are made. So the correct answer is ceramics. Number 3, when do most of the free concerts take place? And so we see here, Martin says, well, there are several free concerts taking place at different times, 1 or 2 in the morning. The majority, note the majority, most, at lunchtime. So the correct answer here is B, lunchtime. Now, let's move on to table and sentence completion. The thing about these two question types is that they're the same. You use the same strategy. It's almost very much like form completion. You want to use the same strategy for both table completion and sentence completion. So the strategy is this: read the directions regarding word count, read the title if any, look at the gaps, try to predict the answers. Look at words surrounding the gaps, then think of their paraphrases. Fill in the gaps as you listen, and then transfer the answers to your answer sheet, ensuring that the answers are spelled correctly. Now, the key points here is you must write a word, short phrase, or a number. You're more likely to write one word for tables and a short phrase for sentence completion. You must stick to the word limit indicated in the instructions. You must use the exact words that you hear from the audio. You can't use synonyms. You must use exact words. Final answers, again, must be spelled correctly. If you must write a short phrase, it must be grammatically correct. You want to pay attention to plural nouns, especially nouns that end with an S. They may ask you for a plural noun, so you would have to write down the plural noun, not the singular noun. The questions follow the sequence of the audio, so keep that in mind. Okay, so this is what table completion looks like. Sentence completion is basically a sentence with a gap either at the beginning, middle, or end, and you would have to fill in either with a word or a short phrase. So again, you approach the sentence completion, table completion in the same way. So now let's take a look at the table completion. This is basically a category type question where you have to match details to the different categories. And so we follow steps. Let's go to steps 1, 2, and 3. So we want to read the questions and titles. So complete the table below, write one word and or number for each answer, and there's no title, but we have different categories. Event, so jazz band and duck races, cost, tickets available for £18, £1 per duck. Venue, the blank, no, that's question 1, the blank school. Question 2, notes. Category 2, notes. And then here with jazz band, we have the next question. Also appearing, Carolyn Hart plays the blank. Okay, so that's question 2. And so venue for duck races, start behind the blank. And then for notes, the prize for the duck tickets, prize tickets for blank, held at the end of the festival. So if we look at the key words here, for question 1, it's school. So that could be expressed as institution or academy, for example. Plays could be performs on or performs the. And then behind, back of, located to the rear of. So those are ways of expressing behind that you could hear. And then tickets for. So we're listening for a specific prize here, but the key word here is actually tickets for. Tickets for. So we want to listen to what those tickets are for. Now, looking at the questions as we listen, so we look at question 1, the blank school. So Rob says, yes, that's right, the secondary school. So secondary school would be the answer. Also, now question 2, also appearing, Carolyn Hart plays. So we say, again, here we have the answer actually coming before the keyword. So Melanie says, oh, I think I've heard her on the radio. Doesn't she play the oboe or the flute? So keyword is play, but we have the answer mentioned by Melanie, and then it's confirmed by Rob. Yes, the flute. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's another way you can hear the answer expressed. For question 3, starts behind, and so here it says, Rob says, all the ducks will be launched into the river at the back of the cinema. So so behind is expressed as at the back, and we would write cinema as our answer. And then number 4, prize, tickets for. So Rob says, yes, the first duck the first duck in each race to arrive at the finishing line wins its owner free tickets for the concert. So we would write 4 tickets, that's tickets for rather. We would write either concert or the concert. And so, actually no, this is the questions, we would write concert. We would not write the concert because we have to keep it in word limit. So now, that's it for today's lesson. I want to thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure having you. And I will see you for our next lesson, which will talk about section 2. So thank you again for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.